Welcome to our Sigd celebration for Spinoza Havurah in November 2023. My name is Martin, and I'm a student in the Society for Humanistic Judaism's Leadership course. Today we are celebrating Sigd, which is an Ethiopian Jewish festival.
By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down. Yea, we wept when we remembered Zion. Behold how good and how pleasant it is for people to dwell together.
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבטחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבטחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, לילה 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 לילה. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, לילה 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 לילה. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבט אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבט אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, לילה 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 לילה. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, לילה 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 לילה. טוב ומה נעים, שבט אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבט אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, לילה 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 לילה. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, לילה 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 לילה.
We kindle these candles and rejoice in the light of Shabbat and Sigd. Let light be sown for good people and gladness for the upright in heart.
אנו מדליקים את הנרות האלה, ונשמח באור של שבת וסיגד, אור זרוע לצדיק ולישרי לב שמחה. And take a moment to look at the light in the candles. And take a deep breath. And then feel the warmth on your hand.
Let us bless the strength within us that has sustained us, enlivened us, and brought us to this time.
Nevarech et hakach b'tochenu shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh.
Amen.
And we, humanity, choose to keep a day of rest as an agreement for all time. For in 6 days we work, and on the 7th we cease from work and are refreshed.
ושומרים בני אדם את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושומרים בני אדם את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשו מלאכה, עשו מלאכה, עשו מלאכה, ושומרים בני אדם את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושומרים בני אדם את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבתו וינפשו, שבתו וינפשו, שבתו וינפשו, ושומרים בני אדם את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Listen, Israel, our people are one, humanity is one. Let us work together to improve this world.
And as we say the Shema, it's traditional to cover our eyes, and that helps us blur the distinction between the other and the self, where we are just one. So I invite people to cover your eyes as we read this out. Shema Yisrael, Echad Ameinu, Ve'atam Echad. Kulanu navot letakein, letakein et haolam hazeh.
And let us love our fellow as ourselves with all our heart, with all our soul, and with all our might. And let these words be always upon our hearts.
ואהבת לרעך כמוך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, ויהיו הדברים האלה על לבבך תמיד.
Impressing them upon our children, reciting them when we stay at home and when we go out, when we lie down and when we get up, binding them as signs on our hand, serving as a symbol on our forehead, inscribing them on the doorposts of our homes and on our gates. Good and beautiful and true, sound, established, and enduring are these words now and forever.
ושיננתם לבנינו ונדברתה בם בשבתנו בביתנו ובלכתנו בדרך ובשכבנו ובקומנו וקשרתם לאות על ידינו והיו לטוטפות בין עינינו וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתנו ובשערינו אמת ויציב וישר וקיים וטוב ויפת הדברים האלה עלינו לעולם ועד.
Thank you. And we pause for silent reflection. We consider with utmost care what Torah is and what it means to honor it. Torah has many meanings, but above all, Torah means teaching, our central teachings, our sacred text, the Torah of our lives.
Many consider Hanukkah as the next major Jewish holiday after Sukkot and overlook the holiday of Sigd. Sigd is an ancient Jewish holiday which has been celebrated continuously for millennia by Ethiopian Jews. In 2008, Sigd was made an official Israeli national holiday, and it's now considered as both a religious holiday and as an exploration of Ethiopian Jewish culture. As such, is a perfect holiday for Jewish people interested in strengthening their connection to and understanding of Jewish diversity and decolonizing their Judaism. In Ethiopia, Sigd was a highlight of Jewish life and brought Jews together in a large communal celebration. Reinforcing Yom Kippur, they would climb a tall mountain and spend the morning repairing interpersonal relationships, as well as fasting and praying for a return to Jerusalem. In the afternoon, they would gather for a festive celebration. Sigd is deeply connected to the hope of returning to Jerusalem, and in the 20th century, the Beta Israel began to actualize that dream following war and famine in Ethiopia. Once they arrived, Sigd became an occasion to celebrate and come together in Jerusalem, praying and connecting with family and friends. These days, Sigd is commemorated in Israel with festivals of Ethiopian culture, and these observances are now shared with Jews of all backgrounds. Sigd is open to all, no matter where we come from, and is an opportunity to learn more about Jewish diversity in general. Melkam Sigd Bial, happy Sigd.
Melkam Sigd Ba'al, happy Sigd.
Ethnic minorities in Israel, a case study. Hey! Hi. Hello. When you think of a Jewish Israeli, what image comes to mind? I don't know, maybe this or this or this. Okay. Well, for me, there's a particular Israeli story that speaks to me. This. The story of Ethiopian Jewry. It's epic. They've overcome adversity and challenges both in Ethiopia and in Israel, and help make Israel the multifaceted, complex society that it is. Very nice, but who are they? I've heard the terms Falashas and Beta Israel, but which is which? Or are those the same thing? Ethiopian Jews traditionally refer to themselves as Beta Israel. However, some of Beta Israel were pressured to convert to Christianity in the 19th and 20th centuries, and they became known as Falash Mura, or Falashas, a derogatory designation in Amharic, meaning strangers or migrants. They were given this pejorative name because Beta Israel no longer consider them to be authentic Jews. But it's important to note that Christian and Muslim Ethiopians refer to all Ethiopian Jews, including Beta Israel, as Falashas, because to the non-Jews, they were all strangers. Yeah, that's not confusing at all. So who are they? Where do they come from? And how did they end up in Ethiopia? Well, there are approximately 144,000 Ethiopian Jews living in Israel today, 1.6% of the population, and their origins are from their tradition trace their roots all the way back to the tribe of Dan, one of the original 12 tribes of Israel. Is that the one that got lost? Well, them and 9 others, but that's just one tradition. Other traditions tie them to King Menelik, the son of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, one of his 700 wives. Holy shit, that's a lot of wives. These Ethiopian Jews had been disconnected from the rest of Jewish society for over 2,000 years. That's before the creation of the Mishnah, Talmud, gefilte fish, like some of the basics of Judaism today. They practice a form of biblical Judaism, which has a lot of differences, but also many similarities with the Jewish practices we're familiar with today. So like they keep kosher, have Shabbat, holidays? Yes and no. Before coming to modern Israel, they kept a form of kosher and the Sabbath, and kept the biblical holidays like Rosh Hashanah, Passover, and Sukkot. However, they did not celebrate holidays like Hanukkah, which commemorate historical events that occurred long after their community became fragmented from the rest of the Jewish world. Any Jewish laws or traditions that developed after the destruction of the first temple were unknown to them. Not only was it unknown to them, but up until the 19th century, most of them hadn't heard of Jews outside of Ethiopia at all. They thought that they were the last remaining Jews in the world. They must have been pretty surprised to find out there were white Jews too. Yeah. So how did they end up back in Israel? Well, the Ethiopian Jews had dreamed of returning to Zion for thousands of years, but in the 1970s and early 80s, Ethiopia found itself embroiled in civil war and famine, which led to the deaths of thousands and an increase in the persecution the Ethiopian Jews already faced. So thousands of Ethiopian Jews began the long journey north by foot through desert and hostile territory, hoping to arrive in Israel. Northwest, actually. Once they reached Sudan, they couldn't travel any further and remained languishing in refugee camps. It is estimated that as many as 4,000 died from starvation and disease during the nearly 750-mile trek through the desert and during the years spent in the refugee camps. But then, let me guess, Israel came to the rescue. Good guess! Israel fulfilled the ancient prophecy and flew them to the Holy Land on the wings of eagles. It wasn't that simple. In the years leading up to this, Israel had sent Mossad agents to smuggle smaller numbers of Ethiopian Jews to Israel, but it actually took a lot of pressure from Jewish advocacy groups to get the government to begin a large-scale program. So it took a lot of nudging to get the Israeli bureaucracy to get moving? That sounds about right. Well, there was the need to keep the rescue on the down low and on a small scale to prevent the Sudanese and Ethiopian governments from cracking down and preventing immigration, so that slowed things down too. That sort of sounds like a cop-out. It's a sticky subject. Also, you have to remember that Israel was a very small country, and the government felt that it needed to determine how to successfully integrate the Ethiopian Jews into Israeli society before bringing them in mass. Makes sense, right? But part of the Israeli government's hesitancy was that many weren't convinced that the Ethiopian Jews were truly Jewish due to the uncertainty of their origins. And if they're not Jewish, they're not eligible to immigrate under the Law of Return. Correct. The Law of Return, enacted in 1950, gives every Jew the right to live in Israel and gain citizenship. It subscribes to the notion of Israel as a safe haven from the persecution Jews had suffered for 2,000 years. That's not to say that non-Jews can't gain citizenship through naturalization. It's just not an automatic right. But in 1973, when the chief rabbi of Israel ruled that according to Jewish law, the Ethiopian Jews are in fact Jewish, the government's policies began to slowly shift. So it took another 10 years for Israel to take action and rescue them on a larger scale. Finally, in 1984, Operation Moses was born. Over the course of 7 weeks, Israel secretly airlifted 8,000 Ethiopian Jews from the Sudan to Israel. But when the secret became public, Sudan, facing pressure from its Arab allies, cut off the operation. Thousands of Ethiopian Jews remained in war-torn Ethiopia, waiting for the day that they would join their brothers and sisters in Israel. But 7 years later, Israel launched a daring mission, which they named Operation Solomon. In a period of less than 36 hours, Israel covertly airlifted 14,000 Ethiopian Jews to Israel. 14,325. When all was said and done, Israel's Ethiopian population went from a few hundred in 1983 to over 20,000 in 1991. It bears mentioning that the process of integration for Black Jews in Israel was quite different from that of African Americans in the American colonies. Yeah, in Israel, there was no slavery, no Jim Crow, no legalized systemic racism. The Ethiopian Jews came here to join their Jewish brothers and sisters as equal members of society. That was the dream. And as Herzl said, If you will it, it is no dream. I knew we couldn't get through this without you quoting Herzl. In America, our ancestors were brought as slaves and were later segregated. In Israel, Ethiopians were brought to freedom, and the goal was to integrate them. So what, is Israel free of racism? No, there is certainly some racism in Israel. Racism is a global problem, and Israel isn't spared from it. But overall, the integration of the Ethiopian Jews into Israeli society was a big success. Israelis welcomed the Ethiopians with open arms, and were really moved by their aliyah, because all the differences they had didn't matter. What mattered is that they were Jews, and part of one big family. Still, many complain of lack of opportunity, poverty, and police harassment. Yeah, I've seen news clips of protests about this. To prepare for the absorption of tens of thousands of Ethiopian Jews, the Israeli government developed an elaborate program covering issues of housing, education, and employment, but its approach did not sufficiently take into account social and cultural differences between the existing and incoming Ethiopian population. Unlike European immigrants, Ethiopians were coming from remote rural villages and were not prepared to work and live in a modern industrialized society. This, despite Israel's efforts at bridging the socioeconomic gap, resulted in a strong social marginalization. But since then, they have come very far. Ethiopians are in the highest levels of government and industries. The gap is shrinking. Among young Ethiopians who were raised here, the gap in education and employment is almost closed. Agreed. Israel is a complex society and has its challenges, but there's also a lot of acceptance and respect for various cultures. It's rough, shifting terrain that Israel will always struggle to navigate, but it's important for Israel to set its eyes on the final destination, the Jewish values of equality and acceptance of others. And one of the best examples of this challenge is the story of the Ethiopian Jews.
In our community, how can we celebrate and honor Jewish minorities? And also, how can or do we integrate and celebrate our non-Jewish families, heritage, and cultures? So thank you everyone for those amazing discussions about how we can incorporate and honor Jewish minorities, and how we can also our non-Jewish families, heritages, and cultures. And we had some really important comments about decolonization, about having other languages in our community, and honoring indigenous people, etc. So thank you, everyone. And this is the moment when I ask people to say the names of people that they're remembering right now. It doesn't matter at what point they passed away, but just say the names of the people you're remembering. And while we do, please, can everyone stand up? If you could just unmute and say the names, if you're comfortable, and write the names in the chat if you want to. I will not be able to see all of them, so if somebody can see the chat and they want to say that, please go ahead.
Sam, Harriet, Gertrude, Irving.
Isidro.
The chat has Isidro Gonzalez, Yvonne, Yao Lillis, Rex Friend, Sadie Mast, and my mother Ruth, friend Ed, friend Esperanza.
Moshe David Benzos.
Edith
Hi.
Abraham.
My aunt Deborah Garrison.
And let us all hold them in our hearts and in our minds. And may there be a good remembrance, compassion, and kindness and love from all the world upon our honorable loved ones who are no longer present. Let us make a place in our hearts to remember their good names, a good memory, and let us honor them with good deeds. All say together, please, may their memory be a blessing forever. Amen. Yehei na zichron tov v'chesed v'rachamim v'yahava michol ha'olam lichvod ahuveinu she'enam od. Ava ninso belibeinu et shemotehem hatovim v'zichram hatov v'nokiram b'ma'asim tovim Zichronam livracha leolam vaed. Amen. Please remain standing. Beta Israel use honey beer or honey wine. Is anybody using anything? I think I did hear something about honey cider, right?
Yeah.
Yeah? So we raise our glasses.
The sixth day and on the seventh day we complete the labor which we perform. And we refrain on the seventh day from all our labor. And we bless the seventh day and set it aside, for we refrain from all the labor which we have to do.
Yom HaShishi, v'atchal bayom HaShevi, המלאכה שנעשתה, ותשבות ביום השביעי כל המלאכה שנעשתה. נברך את יום השביעי ונקדש אותו, כי בו שבתנו מכל המלאכה שבחרנו לעשות. Savri, חברים וחברות, attention friends, raise a glass and more. Blessed is the light in life, and blessed is the fruit of the vine. Baruch haor b'haim, Baruch peri hagefen. All together, Amen. One of our homeworks, not strictly so, but was to have a go at making dabble bread. This is the Ethiopian Shabbat bread. I had a go. I don't know how good it is. Here is, I plaited some of it, braided some of it. It has honey, some spices, lots of honey actually, and some ginger, fennel, not cumin, cinnamon, saffron, and cardamom.
I didn't make it, but now I want to.
Yeah.
I made a cranberry coffee cake. That's what I had in the house.
Okay.
Stacy said she's using Hawaiian rolls this morning.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Some wonderful sesame honey bread that I found.
Oh, honey bread. Yes. See, honey bread is Ethiopian element. So let's lift our bread. Blessed are those that bring forth bread from the earth. Beruchim hamotzim lechem min haaretz.
Let us bless life, the power that is within. Let us give thanks for the good things which we have. Praise be the good. Praise love is good, and let friendship endure forever. Let us bless life first for our ethics, that Bible with goodness continuously. Praise be the good friend, because they always help us. Praise life, for it is good, and let health endure forever. Bless this house, a home to friendship, where we keep this festival with joy and permanence. Praise love, for it is good, and let friendship endure forever.
Bendigamos a la vida, al poder que nos crea. Démosle agradecimiento por los bienes que tenemos. Alabado sea el buen amigo, porque siempre nos ayuda. Loa al amor que es bueno, que para siempre es su amistad. Bendigamos a la vida por la ley primeramente, que liga a nuestra raza con la bondad continuamente. Alabado sea el buen amigo, porque siempre nos ayuda. Loa al amor que es bueno, para siempre es su amistad. Bendigamos a la vida por el pan segundamente, también por los manjares que comimos juntamente. Alabado sea el buen amigo, porque siempre nos ayuda. Loada al amor que es bueno, para siempre su amistad. Pues comimos y bebimos alegremente, con la comida nos llenó. Loada la vida que es buena, que para siempre el amor. Alabado sea el buen amigo, porque siempre nos ayuda. Loada el amor que es bueno, que para siempre su amistad. Bendita sea la casa esta, el hogar de amistad, donde guardamos la fiesta con alegría y permanencia. Alabado sea el buen amigo, porque siempre nos ayuda. Guarda el amor que es bueno, que para siempre es su amistad.
መቻጣር ሸጋር ማደር ሸጋር ማደር ለምለሙ ጎጃም መቻጣር ሸጋር ማደር ሸጋር ማደር ለምለሙ ጎጃም ኧረ ጎጃም ሸጋ ጀግና መች ጠፋ የሚያፈራ ሁሉ እናባይ ገዝፏል የአባ ኮስምና የበላይ ዘለቀ ጎበዝ የሚረታ ፍቅሯ እያስጨነቀ ጓግር ጥሎ ድንገት ያያቃቶ ዝናዋን የሰማ ያድራል ጓርቶ በለምለሙ ምድር ጎጃምን ጠፋ የሚያፈራው በእውነት ለማን ይተርፋል ጣፋጭ የሚወደድ እንደ ቅቤ ማሩ ሸጋሪ ገና ሞልቷል ሰቱ እየሙን 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 ለይልኝ ሽሙን እየሙን 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 ለይልኝ ሽሙን
Melkam Yeskit Be'al. Happy Sikit, everyone. Thank you.
Happy Sigd.
Thank you, Martin.